Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to continue talking about classes. Last time we covered the basics needed to code classes, but for the next couple of videos, including this one, I'm going to be covering the more advanced stuff. And in this video, we're going to talk about class variables. Class variables are variables that are stored at the class level rather than the object instance level. Because of this, class variables are shared across all object instances. They're useful for when you want to store information that would be the same across all object instances without having to store them in each individual instance. This also means that if a class variable value needs to be updated, it only needs to be updated once, and all the objects will see it. That's a lot better than having to update an object to instance variable for each individual object, just to ensure they are all the same. So typical use cases for class variables, if you need to use them, is typically to define constants or defaults, values that would never change. There are use cases for making class variables that would change, but there's not many of them. It's often recommended to not have class variables that you know you're going to be changing often unless it's absolutely necessary. All right, so I have an example right here. We've got our classic pilot class here, and we've got two class variables. The first one is max pilots, and it's set to 3. And the second one is pilot count, which is set to 0. And how these two will work together is that max pilots basically establishes that we cannot create more than 3 pilots. Once the third object is created, we can't make any more. Pilot count will keep track of how many pilot objects have been created. So once it hits 3, we won't be able to make any more. And there's a better way to do it than I did in this example. However, it involves showing things that I'm going to be demonstrating in the next Python class video. So I'm not going to do that stuff here. So just in case you might think it's like, oh, why did you do it that way? There's a better way to do it, a more Pythonic way to do it. It's because I'm trying to avoid showing you stuff that I'm going to be showing in the next video. Otherwise, this would be a little too confusing. And as you can see in the init function here, here's how we would access our class variables. We start with the class name, which is pilot, dot, then the class variable name. In this case, pilot count. And in the init function, what we're doing is that we are increasing the class variable pilot count by 1 every time we initialize a new pilot. And then down here, we've got the code that's going to run our example. So we've got a list of dictionary items containing the information for our pilots. We've got Crozo, Beth, Aaron, and their ID numbers, and also a pilot with 3 question marks. I didn't feel like coming up with a 4th name. We've got a pilot list here, which this for loop will add new pilot objects to that pilot list. And how it's going to do that is, first, it's going to check our class variables, and it's going to make sure that pilot count is less than max pilots before it tries to make a new pilot object. And if it can make one, it's going to append the new pilot object to this list here. Once it sees that pilot count is not less than max pilots, it's instead going to print this message here saying that it cannot create any more pilots. And then this final for loop here is just going to have us print the list of pilots just to show that we have in fact made some pilots. So I'm going to run our code. And so as you can see here, it displayed the message when it tried to add the pilot with the 3 question marks as its name. And then after that, we ran through the loop that printed out our pilots that we did create. So we got Crozo, Beth, and Aaron. And so there you have it. It's just a very basic example on how you would use class variables. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if you did, then please hit the like button and leave a comment below to let me know what you think. If you want to see more, head on over to the Wayfair Coding Academy channel to check out my other content. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on new stuff as it comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.